Hello, everybody, and welcome to our weekly conversation with content creators about everything live streaming. I'm your host, Anya, here with Restream team in Austin, Texas. Hello, everybody. This is my favorite time of the day, favorite time of the week, Friday, because we get to talk with amazing people about all kinds of video, creative, and marketing, and all those favorite things. Real quick here, if you're first time with us, this show is powered by Restream Studio, and this is how we run our show. And this is my absolutely favorite way to go live to all social media platforms at the same time. Super easy, directly from your browser. If you are thinking about starting your own live series, check us out at restream.io/studio. Speaking about social media platforms, today we are going to talk about life hacks and pro tips for social media strategists and marketers focused on social selling. My guest today is Stephanie Liu. She is virtual keynote speaker, author, live streaming strategist, and digital marketing expert. Hello, Stephanie, and welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. This is awesome. Yeah, good to see you here. Welcome, welcome. I see some people are joining us today. Rain says water. Okay.
Water. Stay hydrated.
Stay hydrated. Yeah. Oh, here we go. I'm so happy you're on the same page with me on that one. How are you doing today, Stephanie? What's going on with your morning?
I am excited because we've got like so many fun things planned today, and you're invited. Honestly, right? Everyone's invited. We're gonna have fun today. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we do have some reveal party things today. We're going to introduce you to some of the new shows that we are starting actually as soon as today after this show. So definitely stick around for that. And definitely let us know if you have any questions for us, for me or for Stephanie. We are talking about social media today, live streaming and social media strategy. And what we would love to know is, are you a social media professional yourself? If that's your work, if that's your career, let us know what you do. Who are you writing social media for? Or maybe you're just doing that for yourself, just for fun. So yeah, let us know in chat comments, as well as any questions that you might have for us. And we are going to get started with a question for you, Stephanie. So one of your kind of like punchlines on your social media as well as your website is that you are helping brands to go from unknown to unforgettable on social media. How does a brand do that? Like, what is the journey of a brand from unknown to unforgettable?
Oh, yes. The whole journey of going from unknown to unforgettable is willing to take risk, is being able to be courageous and try new things, right? Because we have to, as marketers, pay attention to how consumer behavior is shifting. How are they consuming content online, especially with video, right? Do you remember the time where people were really like, I will never do vertical video? Vertical video? No, don't even touch that. And now you have things like Fleet released out on Twitter, right? You have LinkedIn stories, you have Instagram stories, Facebook stories. It's this thing where it's like you have to pay attention to what's happening with viewers and your consumers, because if you just stay in the everyday ho-hum marketing stuff, you're going to miss important opportunities. So from going from unknown to unforgettable, make courageous decisions and experiment.
That's awesome. That's great advice. I think that's so relatable to pretty much any industry, right? That's true for marketing. That's true for sales. That's true for HR. Like make bold hiring decisions if you want to build exceptional teams. So yeah, great stuff right here. Speaking of challenges for social media strategists, I wonder, do you see that the challenges today are different for people who are doing social media for small businesses or entrepreneurs? So maybe they're doing that for themselves, for their own services that they offer, versus corporations or major tech companies, people who have like massive lines of products and stuff and all that.
Oh, that's such a good question, right? Because let's kind of like pull back the curtain and talk about how a marketing team looks like when you're working at an agency or when you're working in-house. And in-house means like you're on site for your brand or your company. Generally, in that case, they have different departments that work together. So you have your creative team that is designing all of the assets. You have your social media manager, your community manager, your program analyst. There are people that are dedicated to making everything work together, right? And so when you are an entrepreneur, when you're a social media strategist, you actually have to wear multiple hats, right? You have to be responsible for creating the content, scheduling the content, analyzing the content, and sometimes you actually might be required to do the video editing, the live streaming. So when you're a social media strategist and you're trying to attract new clients, you have to show them the value that you offer, that you're pretty much a Swiss Army knife when it comes to marketing, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's really interesting because it gives you so much flexibility and so much freedom and so much opportunity to grow. But at the same time, it's that, juggling all those things and like being that one-stop shop, one man orchestra, which is inspiring for some people and for some people really daunting. But yeah, that's a good point. That's a good big difference. So there's so many tools and so many different programs that social media professionals need to keep up with these days. There's so many different platforms. There's so many different ways how you could process your content, how you can, promote it, repurpose. What do you believe that there's like hundreds of thousands of tools that any social media professional just has to keep in mind, or are there 2, 3 essential ones that people should just focus on? Oh, I think you're muted. Oh no, no, no.
That's me.
Yeah, yeah, you're back.
I would say that there are hundreds of tools out there that you can use. The best analogy for it, it's like when you walk into your kitchen, right? And when you walk into your kitchen, you could open up the kitchen drawer and there are going to be lots of utensils, lots of pots and pans that you can use to make a particular dish. And what you have to be cognizant of is, well, what do I make the most? Or what is going to make the most delicious dish that when I make it, right? Thanksgiving is totally on my mind. But when I make it, people want to be gathered at the table and they all want to dive in. So as far as the most important social media tools that any strategist should pay attention to, I would say number one is, how are you designing and creating your creative assets, right? So whether that's going to be your Photoshop or your easel, that's going to be really, really important because you have to be flexible as far as repurposing your content. The second one is really going to be scheduling your content, because we can't always be on social media. There's a whole beautiful world out there, So schedule your content in advance, especially if you're repurposing your content. Just keep trickling it out there like digital confetti. And then the third one is really monitoring and listening to conversations. You want to see when you're creating this content, what is the reaction that people are saying out there? So being able to monitor the conversations to hear what people have to say, whether it's their pain points, right? What are some top frequently asked questions about your business, your product, or your service? Or what are some questions that they should be asking, but they don't know because you're the expert, right? So you could fill in the gaps for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of including people in conversation, I'm seeing some questions are coming in. Thank you so much, guys. Keep them going. We'll do our best to answer all of them. Charles here on YouTube is asking, what is the fastest growing social media platform for live video? Great question, Charles. What's your input?
I would say that varies by different industries, right? Because if you're a gamer, most likely you are on Twitch, right? But if you are a marketer, you are most likely live streaming on platforms like Facebook or on YouTube. If you are an influencer, you might actually be leveraging Instagram, right? So every platform has its own purpose in there. So depending, Charles, on what industry you're talking about, fastest growing is really relative to the industry and the audience.
Yeah, absolutely. And a follow-up question here, this time from Facebook. How often should I post live videos on social media? I know it's kind of like one of those eternal questions. Should I do it daily? Should I do it monthly? Should I do it weekly? Is more the merrier, or is there some kind of like a golden middle where you want to kind of like save your resources, not overwhelm your community, and also get the maximum effect out of it?
That's a good question. I would say really when it comes to live streaming, as long as you're focusing on quality and not quantity, right? So for example, I'm a marketer, I'm a social media strategist. And so when I do a show, I am teaching my audience something. And when I teach them, I want to see the results. I want to give them enough time to roll up their sleeves and be like, okay, we're going to try this. And then I want them to share the results with me. I wouldn't necessarily want to bury that tutorial, that training, that masterclass with another live stream that talks about like, oh, here's an unboxing video, right? When you're creating content, be mindful of what your desired outcome is, because you're live streaming for a purpose and your viewers are watching you because they want to learn something from you or they want to be entertained. Now, if you're an entertainment type of show, right? People need an escape. I would say do that as often as your audience wants you to, because they want to see you. You're that personality that they want to check out. So depending on what your desired outcome is, it's really going to vary. But I would always say quality versus quantity.
Awesome. I'm a big believer in combination of the two, especially like your good example. All your shows, even when they are very instructional and very marketing focused, they're extremely entertaining because you're funny. You try to, like put something personal in there. So I think that's also something to keep in mind for people who are thinking about how often to post this. When do you have that energy, right? Like when do you feel the most ready to show up, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think too, what people should understand is that when you're developing a show, you got to give your audience enough time to like RSVP, put it on their calendar, because there's so many different things that they could be paying attention to online. But when you build up the value that you have to offer, like this is what you're going to gain by watching the show, that's going to encourage people to want to show up.
Absolutely. And the question here from Unknown Collector, which platform is the best to advertise your brand as content creator? That's a good one. And it's just right up your alley, Stephanie.
Oh gosh, yeah. Here's the thing is that when you're trying to advertise your brand as a content creator, it's kind of what exactly are you offering, right? Because every single platform has its pros and its cons. So for example, Facebook Live, you could take advantage of live shopping, which is available in the US and in Thailand. You could also back up your shows with paid media and target specific audiences. If you think about LinkedIn, you don't have those features, but you do have access to one of the most affluent social media networks out there. And I will tell you that most brands that are sponsoring content creators do hang out on LinkedIn. And that's kind of like your online resume where they want to check you out. Like, how do you show up on camera? Are you organized and all of that stuff? So as a content creator, it's one of those questions where it's, what are you really trying to achieve, right? And how do you want to advertise yourself to brand sponsors? Because your brand sponsors really want to see the social proof. So if you're going live on a one-off channel where you're not getting that much engagement, you may want to leverage Restream, where you can show that you could go live in multiple places and still get that attention.
Yeah, absolutely. And also to add on to this, from the perspective of a brand who is constantly contracting and looking for creators to partner and collaborate with, I would say have your focus, have your show your relevance. Because for me, for example, when I partner with somebody like Stephanie, what I want to know is what kind of audience is she working with? Is this a target audience for me? Is this a target audience for Restream? So she's teaching live video marketing and social media strategies, and she is working with brands, B2B and entrepreneurs. So yeah, like it all makes sense. It all fits in what I'm trying to do when I work with her to promote Restream as a marketing tool or as a social media tool for professionals. So think about like what is your expertise, what is your specific niche, and go after those brands. Because if I'm trying to find someone to offer Restream to their community, I will not necessarily be interested in an influencer who is super focused on showing how to do makeup, for example, which it's a great thing if you're going after makeup brands, but it's not a great thing for me and the other way around. So just think about like what is your target brand sponsor and how relevant your audience and your content is to them. So yeah, gosh, questions that keep coming. That's my favorite part of interactive live video, right? Is because when you start answering questions, people are like, okay, so this is happening. This is for real. It's interactive. We're included, and people keep coming. So that's amazing. Thank you guys. Please keep it up. Alexandra here is saying, what is a good strategy while dealing with haters? Actually, very, very good, solid question. It's a concern for a lot of social media strategists, and especially when you're live, right? It is discouraging.
Yeah. So in one of the classic examples, I did a live stream for my client, which is Chef Master Chef Chef Claudia Sandoval. She won MasterChef season 6. And so we did a live stream for her and T-Mobile. Now, see, she's a celebrity. And we knew that because this was going to go live globally, we're going to have haters. And so we planned in advance. And so take a look at which platforms you're live streaming to. Because if you're live streaming to something like, let's say, Facebook, Facebook gives you an opportunity where you could block specific keywords. You could say, if someone says racist things or negative things, specific keywords, you could have it so that they don't appear whatsoever. Right. So that kind of saves you a lot of time. And that's something that I always tell my clients is that if you foresee that you may have any trolls or any haters, what are some common things that they might be saying that you might want to automatically delete or hide so that way someone on your team can go ahead and unhide it if it's really okay. The two-part for that is really if you have an assistant, a virtual assistant, an intern even, right? Or a co-host who could actually keep an eye on what's happening on the live channel itself and say, okay, mute, unhide, blah, blah, blah. When we were doing this for Chef Claudia Sandoval, someone else was like holding the camera. I was monitoring the conversations. And as soon as something came in, it was like, boop, delete, blocked, you get them out of there, but don't, if you're working with talent, don't tell your talent.
don't tell what happened. Like whatever happens behind the scenes should stay behind the scenes. That's awesome. Yeah, I 100% agree that if you do experience, if your stream is extremely important, definitely invest in finding someone to moderate your chat because you have more important things to do. You need to focus on content if you're hosting or producing. So definitely don't be afraid to ask for help. Yeah, those automated moderations such as excluding certain keywords, that's also very helpful. And if for whatever reason that happened, again, like I don't have a ton of experience with that. I had a couple of trolls on my live shows in my year of live streaming proactively, and I would say the strategy there is just to ignore, like never react to them. A lot of times what I've witnessed is that the community will kind of take care of themselves and they will be like, hey dude, like you are not in a good place anyway. So it will kind of resolve itself as long as you're not paying attention to it and not, contributing and nurturing that negative behavior. So yeah, I hope that helps. I see that Charles is on the roll here. He has another question for you. Which social media network do you check first and why? Like that's a good one. So like when you wake up, what is that first app that you like click on your cell phone?
This is like getting into the personal stuff. I would say my first app that I open up in the morning is going to be Instagram. And the reason for that is because when I'm creating content, I mostly create stories. And in my stories, it's a lot of behind the scenes. And so I'm curious to hear like what people think or who viewed it. And so that's where I like to hang out on Instagram first. I also check out the Explore feed because the algorithm already knows what I'm interested in. So if I'm binge watching, the home edit on Netflix, it's going to show me all these pretty organization things. And I love that. So that's usually the first thing that I check out as far as my phone because I want to have the right mindset as I start my day. So I avoid certain things that I know could cause emotional triggers, right? Like I avoid Reddit, I avoid Twitter, and I really focus on things that I know are going to cater to my happiness and going to give me that happy brain chemical.
Awesome. When is a good time to get to the dark stuff like Twitter or like all those other things that could kind of messes your emotions? Is it like afternoon, after lunch, before going to bed?
Sometimes if I'm good on all of the other social media platforms, I'll check out to see, what's happening on Twitter. But I'm very much one of those people where there's a lot of negativity that's happening in the world. And so I would rather feed my brain and feed my soul with things that are going to make me happier. So if I were to check it, it's probably like end of the day when I don't have to be as productive.
Yeah, absolutely. So switching gears a little bit, it usually takes a little bit of time to train your audience to show up to your live streams, right? Like if you're just starting, it is not uncommon for people to experience that, okay, you're streaming, you did episode 2, 3, but not many people show up, even though you have an engaged community, you build a good network on your social media. So what is your advice or strategy tip, I guess, for training your audience to show up to your lives and be engaged and participate in conversation?
I would definitely say that pre-promotion is absolutely essential when you are marketing and promoting your show. So even when I was working with Anya on something, I was very much like, we have to do behind the scenes content. I have to tease this out to get people interested and pique their curiosity. So little things like, what am I working on easel? What am I designing right now? What am I putting out there? Because what I want to do is I want to create like an open loop. And an open loop is really like, what is she working on? You're piquing this curiosity, and they're like, something's happening, right? And you want to get them interested. So, a lot of what I do is I will do a lot of behind the scenes content. And then when I'm ready to make an announcement, it's a full out blitz campaign. It's changing, the Facebook header cover images. It's creating an actual Facebook event that announces it so people can RSVP in advance. If you've noticed something so far, I'm trying to get people to book time on their calendar because I know for my viewers, if it's not on their calendar, it doesn't exist. So whether it lives on their Facebook calendar or I use a new service called Eventable. And Eventable is where people can actually subscribe to your show and it automatically adds it to their real calendar. So their iCal, their Google Calendar, but it shows up as that block of time. And what's
Yeah.
beautiful about that is that you can give them a notification like 10 minutes before. It's like, hey, I'll see you in 10 minutes. Excited to see you. And it makes it a lot of fun. So those are a couple of things that I do in order to make sure that people actually show up.
Yeah, I do that too, actually. I do that on LinkedIn because I do not trust LinkedIn algorithms all the way just yet in terms of showing my content to all the network because I have a lot of followers there. So I do always post that little thing like, hey, in just 15 minutes, come on in, join my conversation. We're going to be talking about this. This is my guest. So, tune in if you have a moment because it's very easy to forget, even if you have it on your calendar. And yeah, absolutely. I agree that when you schedule time for it and when people actually add it to their calendar, that they treat that as a time that's dedicated to this stream and that conversation, right? So it almost like their task, right? They're not going to just be like, oh, okay, that's happening. I don't care, right? So that's great stuff. Just to say hello to one of our new viewers here, Madam Joy says, hi, good afternoon, watching from UK, new viewer here. Hey, welcome to the conversation. And I'm going to take this moment, and also for those who are experiencing us on a podcast, which is the repurposing that we are applying to this show. I'm going to reintroduce you real quick here. My guest today is Stephanie Liu. She is virtual keynote speaker, author, live streaming strategist, and digital marketing expert. We are going to talk about life hacks and pro tips for social media strategists and professionals. Everything you need to know about how to incorporate live video into your social media world. So, I see that there's also a question about search engine optimization and how live streaming is helping with SEO. If you have a couple of comments on that, that would be great. And then I can add on to that a little bit as well.
Absolutely. I think what's helpful about live streaming is that it's going to be video. And so for a lot of our clients, we roll out a video first strategy because we know that sometimes if you're Googling for something and if you could actually pull out the YouTube video with the actual chapters and the timestamps that's answering their questions, they're more likely to go ahead and check that out. We always know that video is really going to capture someone's attention. So from an SEO perspective, you can outrank pages that have been there for a very long time by just having a well-ranking video, right? Let's also remember the fact that when you are live streaming, this is an opportunity for you to repurpose your content. So you take that big piece of content and you break it out and you sprinkle it across the internet. Now you have all of these links linking back to your original show and getting people back to your site wherever you're embedding it. One of the things that I generally like to do is that even with the show, I can create the transcript. And the transcript is what's helpful as far as the Google bots, the algorithms and whatnot to see like, what is this page about, right? What are they talking about? Formatting it as far as headlines go. So you have a lot of opportunity if you do a video first strategy with live streaming as a part of that mix.
Yeah, absolutely. And to add on to that, to Charles's question, yesterday we did a stream with Neil Patel, who is world's most known search engine optimization expert and like top marketer. And he actually did answer a couple of questions about search engine optimization. So feel free to check out that video on our YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, pretty much on all Restream channels. He spoke specifically about how Google is your number one search engine, right? Like that's what everyone is thinking about. But the next thing is YouTube. And even though it's a tricky thing because technically it's both Google, but YouTube is your next most important ranking search engine, and everything else is like far behind. So definitely creating live videos, being thoughtful about your title, about the name of your video, as well as your description, is definitely helping you to get discovered. So keep that in mind. And I'm seeing Tracy here. She says, coming in late. Hello, good stuff so far. Tracy is a regular. Thanks for joining in today. Talking about social media, feel free to add your questions for us, for Stephanie specifically. Madam Joy says, thank you for mentioning my name. Of course, we are here to include you in the conversation. This is a two-way street. It's not just us talking and you are listening silently. Definitely feel free to drop your comments, your questions, anything really. All right. And I see Horacio saying, love live streaming, especially for my interview shows. So what is your opinion, Stephanie, on like what is the easiest content when you think about live content to get started with? What is the easiest thing to introduce on social when you're just exploring live streaming as part of your strategy?
Oh, I love this. I would say the easiest is to actually bring on a guest, right? Because then it takes the pressure off of you of like, oh, how do I, what should I say to fill in, whether it's a 20-minute live stream or a 30-minute live stream. What's nice is that when you have a guest is that you could bounce questions off of each other. You could go off onto riffs. And so when you have a guest that you have a lot of good rapport with, it makes it really helpful. Now, if you are the type where you're like, well, I don't know if I'm ready to reach out to someone like a Neil Patel, right? Well, bring on a co-host. Bring on like your live streaming bestie, where it feels as if you're just having a conversation and people are just there to be a part of it and watch the show from there. And so if you're starting off a show, I would say having a partner is always going to be really helpful to just kind of let you relax a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely helpful because it is sort of awkward and difficult to fill in even 30 minutes of content when it's just you. And especially when you're doing this for the first time, there's so many little self-conscious things like, do I look okay? Am I tired? Are people still interested? Am I talking about the right thing? And of course, if you have a busy chat, it's easier because then you're kind of including your audience into the conversation. But yeah, definitely having a co-host is very helpful. So let us know in the chat, those who are still here watching, let us know, do you prefer, when you're watching live shows, do you prefer to have two people, interview style, conversation, panel discussion, something like that? Or do you prefer to watch someone who is doing solo, whether it's a tutorial videos, instructional videos, any kind of educational or entertaining? What is your personal preference as from the viewer perspective? Do you like a couple of people on screen and a dialogue, or a solo performance, a solo act? Let us know. So moving on, there were a couple of questions that I had for you regarding repurposing live content. Of course, you mentioned that this is very important. This is helping your discovery. This is helping search engine optimization and in general building your community and audience around your live streams. Do you have to think about your content differently when you are planning to repurpose it? Is there anything special that you need to do with your live streams in order to make them repurposable in the future?
Yeah. I think when you're repurposing content, there's two ways that you can do it. The first mindset is to really have an evergreen content strategy. And so when I'm developing shows, I'm like, oh, is this something that I could use year round? Right? Because then that way I could actually go ahead and say, this one live video, I can repurpose it into 94 different ways. Now for the next 94 Mondays, we will be talking about that show. And then on Tuesday, it's another show. And then you could shuffle the cards pretty much, right? And that's what's nice about having evergreen content. When you are doing a show that's specific, like let's say holiday gear guide, that's something that is only going to be used for a short amount of time. So when do you want to launch that show? Right? Some people might be thinking like, oh, I'll do that the week before Christmas, when really you could do that right now and then sprinkle that out from today up until the very last shopping day, the very last day that you could get like free shipping on Amazon, right? Like I'm guilty of that.
Yeah, yeah.
But I would definitely say that when you're thinking about content and repurposing, think about as far as, is this evergreen or is this promotional and seasonal, right? And then
Yeah.
go about it that way.
And definitely start your shopping for Christmas early this year because I bet you these guys are going to be busy. Amazon shipping services, everybody. So that's, a pro tip that's unrelated to live streaming, like a little pearl of wisdom from Anya. I'm seeing some answers here. So Charles is saying 2 is better, 3 okay, more guests too busy. I agree. I don't know how moderators manage more than 4 people, including the host, right? Like if we're thinking about a panel with 6 people or more, I actually participated in some of those, and it does feel really awkward because like the host doesn't ever have enough time to dedicate to each participant. And it does, I believe that it does bring value because of all these different perspectives, but it is definitely not very easy to manage. And I'm assuming not very easy to consume from viewers' perspective. So yeah, I agree 100%. 2, 3, maybe 4. And Tracy saying, doesn't matter to me, just want it to be entertaining and educational. Awesome. Yeah, great point. Great point. So before I move to some other questions, I did have a couple of questions about holiday guides and just general social media guides that you've been working on. But just wanted to address this one from Charles from LinkedIn. What is the best way to convert my social media followers into customers? Do you have any pro tips from that, like selling on
Oh,
social?
yeah. Oh my gosh, so many. Right? Again, it really depends on what you're promoting, Charles, right? So if it's a product or a service or affiliate marketing, there's a lot of different ways that you can roll over your viewers into customers. So, for example, take advantage of live shopping. So, on Facebook Live, you could actually integrate your Shopify, or you could use external links that drive people to certain things. Or if you have a longer customer sales cycle, maybe you want to have them opt into an email list. So, what I see a lot of live streamers do is, let's say, holiday gift guide, right? You could say holiday gift guide, this is the name of the show, but if you want the cheat sheet with all of the links, then go ahead and leave a comment, and then I will send it to you by opting into an email list. When you have that email list, now you're basically taking your viewer off of rented property, right? Like your Facebook, your YouTube, and all that other stuff. And now you're integrating them into your CRM, into your email system. And that's where you could see like what subject lines they're opening, things that they're interested. You could retarget them using paid media advertising. So there's lots of different ways that you have that. I think the more that you tell Anya and I about like what it is specifically that you're trying to achieve, then you could actually develop a social media strategy to support that effort with live streaming in the mix.
Yeah, I agree. Like capturing your leads is critical, and yeah, don't forget about good old mailing lists. They do work, even though there's so many different tools and so many different things and strategies to say. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit more about live shopping. I actually did have a question about that for you. So it's a relatively new thing, right? Integrating e-commerce and live video experiences. Well, first of all, what do you think is this trend representing right now? Like, who can take advantage of that? And what is the future of live shopping? Like, how do you see it developing and evolving?
That's the interesting thing, because in the US, we liken live shopping to the traditional QVC or the home shopping network. And that's what we're used to. But if you look outside of the US and you think more globally, other countries, like let's say China, for example, they see big, huge increases with live shopping. They're like way ahead when it comes to live shopping. In fact, the latest stat that I saw was that 265 million Chinese internet users buy goods from watching a live stream. Think about that. That's 1 in 2
Wow.
people watching a live stream shopping
Yeah.
automatically. And so when you think about that, wow, what has actually rolled out recently that you can take advantage of? I've already told you about Facebook Live Shopping, but that's only open to the US and Thailand. They're still working that out. But there are other platforms like Amazon Live, which who doesn't shop on Amazon, right? That's
Yeah.
an opportunity for you where you can go live as an influencer on Amazon Live. You could already pre populate what you want to promote, products that you're actually using, and leverage that. If you don't want to work with Amazon, that's totally okay. There's other things out there like LiveScale that integrate with other shopping commerce platforms. So let's say you have your own Shopify store, or what's it called, Bigwoo? Like whatever those e-commerce shopping platforms are, you could tie that in there and take advantage of it. Let's also remember that there's Instagram, right? So pay attention to these live shopping trends, because when you have an audience engaged and they could purchase just like that, like right from their browser, right from their phone, that's a game changer.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think it's applicable to non-retail stuff like software, like services, live shopping meaning? Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I think about, like, if I wanted to promote Restream, right, and an affiliate link, if I'm using Facebook Live, what I could do is I could hop into Facebook Live Producer and then display an actual clickable link. This is one of those things where you're like, we're so used to live streamers as saying like, here's the link in the comments, right? But then if you have a large audience, that comment is always going to get buried. Sometimes when
Yeah.
you pin a comment, even on Facebook, sometimes Facebook is buggy, right? But when you use Facebook Live Producer with Restream, then you could put the external link. That is a clickable link that appears in the middle of the broadcast, so they could click it and it opens in another window, so it doesn't actually take them outside of the live streaming experience.
Yeah, that's great stuff. Yeah, I agree that a lot of times people think that only shoes or bags will be something that people will buy like on a whim, like this, direct after watching a live stream. But it's not necessarily the case. If you create a stream where you show value for your service or for your product or for your book, like whatever that is, right? It doesn't have to be a consumer good necessarily. It could be a course or anything. It is very common for people to
Oh yeah.
make that spontaneous decision, right? Like, no, I really want to learn. I really want to get that
Yeah.
course right now. I
Like,
really want to start this thing. So
I'm going to add one more. Like, even for our marketing professionals, right, where you do consultations, that external link, that clickable link, could still be a link to your Calendly, like your appointment scheduling platform where
yeah,
you book a call, right?
yeah,
So there's a difference between someone that opts into your emails and then it's a longer cycle to warm them up and build that rapport. But if you're like, hey, here's my calendar link, you want to learn more about social media strategy, book a free 15-minute call. Here's the link. They're like, oh, I want to do that, right? They're going to be
yeah.
all over that opportunity. And now you actually have quality leads, because these are people that actually tuned into your show. They know your personality, right? It's not like they're coming in cold.
Yeah, amazing comment here from Tracy. I thought it was really interesting, kind of like case study, so to say. She says, wow, I want to help local businesses to live stream, but wondering how to know how to help them understand how it could work. Businesses like shops. I think this is just, right in the alley of what we were talking about. Live shopping, multi-streaming to multiple social platforms, connect with that shop, offer them to do a live stream where they can talk about their inventory, talk about their story, talk about the cause and purpose, anything that is interesting and relatable, and then allow people to make purchases online while you are streaming. And that's going to be what do you think, Stephanie? I think that's going to be a very interesting experiment.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm going to add one more thing. I know I'm throwing a lot of things at you guys, but this is like
Yeah,
how much I love live streaming. But
yeah.
even on Facebook, you could have a paid virtual event. So
Mhm.
let's say with your thrift shops, you're like, hey, it's, $5 to enter this exclusive thrift shop online
Yeah.
experience, right? And then this gives you first dibs to, call out and do a silent bid auction or whatever it is that you want to do. But Tracy, there's so many things that you could do with live streaming, because let's be honest, not a lot of people are leaving their homes.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
this is an
absolutely.
opportunity where you're already in their home.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. And you know what's interesting? Even for paid events or events that are kind of ticketed, there is also an opportunity to use something like Restream to kind of get started. Because at first you want to hype up your community. You want to tell them what is going on. So you could start your stream on multiple platforms. using something like Restream and tell them, hey, this is what I'm doing. This is my mission. This is why I'm doing this. And this is how you can access some exclusive content if you want more, or if you want to buy, or if you want to enter into that special club and support that local business by purchasing that ticket that I'm going to then donate to that local store. So there's so many different ways how you could ignite the community by first going on social and like making it open for everybody. And then again, using that same tactic that Stephanie was talking about earlier, and then lure them into, okay, so here's where I want you to end up. This is where we're starting, wherever you are. Let me bring it to you. And then let's move on and like get here. So that's, yeah, definitely something that I've seen people do, and it seems very exciting. Tracy says, thank you, ladies. That's awesome. Scott is saying, live Q&A about business product is so valuable. Awesome, Scott. Thank you so much. It's good to see you here. Yeah, that's all great. All right. So another question that I had for you, Stephanie, regarding all this, ultimate guides. I know you wrote an ultimate guide to social media marketing that was published by Entrepreneur Press. Can you tell us a little bit about that guide?
Absolutely. So the ultimate guide to social media marketing is exactly that. It's written not only by myself, but also with my co-authors. So I have Mike Alton, who is like the king of blogging and content strategy. You also have Jen Herman, who is the grandmaster. I'm talking about Instagram marketing. There's Amanda Robinson, who knows everything about Facebook advertising. And then our other author, Eric Buto, who knows a lot about social media in general. And so this book really encompasses, if you're going to, dip your toe into social media, how do you develop a social media strategy? What do you need to know in advance? Because social media is really one of those things where you can leverage it for your business if you have a plan. If you have a desired outcome, how do you create a channel strategy that's really going to support your overarching marketing objectives? And so throughout that entire book, we talk about all the different platforms, the pros, the cons, how to develop a social media strategy, why you should be repurposing your content, why and when you should be leveraging paid media. And then when you're ready to grow and scale your business, what do you need to know in order to hire a team? Because it's one of those things where you're a social media strategist as a consultant or a freelancer. Eventually, you want to grow your business, possibly hire a virtual assistant, maybe a college intern, someone else to help you manage all of the work. And so that's why it's the ultimate guide. That's why it has like everything.
Yeah, absolutely. No, great stuff. And yeah, that's definitely the guides are your shortcuts. That's the opportunity for you to not learn everything with your own mistakes by running your own experiments and your own A/B tests, but like getting that shortcut and like understanding how other people already did that and things that they already figured out. And maybe not everything is going to be applicable to you, but a lot of things will be, and a lot of things will trigger some other ideas for you. And thanks to live streaming like this, you can always connect with the author of the guide, right? Stephanie is streaming on the regular basis. So if you have any questions about the guide or any kind of ideas or comments, you can always tune in. And I'm sure, I always welcome people when they come in and say, hey, during this thing you wrote or said this, like what's your input? What's your take on that? So it's always, it's always great that's conversation starter, right? And it's very, very inclusive. I have a question for you that is kind of more, I don't think it's on a personal level, but it's something interesting that you did in the past. So when I was researching you as my guest, I learned that you actually coached an astronaut, Jessica Mayer, and her team how to do a live interview in outer space. Well, right, I'm assuming from the space station. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience? Because that sounds so crazy. How do you live stream from space?
Custom RTMP, right? From a logistical perspective, that was really easy to talk about. It's just, if you can make a telephone call, then you could pretty much connect the internet from outer space. The coaching that was really involved was getting everyone to understand that, yes, this is an epic moment. You have someone joining into the live stream from outer space. How do you get people excited, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like when brands are hiring a video marketing company, they're only thinking about the logistics, but not about that curiosity and getting people super excited. And so that was the fun part, was talking about like, you are knowledgeable about how to be an astronaut, what inspired you to be an astronaut. Let's tell that story. And when we do this, Let's have people show up, because we don't want this to be one of those things that just gets lost in the newsfeed.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. How many views did you get? Do you remember more or less like the ballpark?
Oh my gosh, I don't remember off the top of my head. It was one of those things where you're just managing a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, yeah, but it sounds like it's so exciting, right? Like who would want to see a live stream from space? Like I would. I'm gonna find that and like find that replay because it sounds really exciting. So quick question from Mike here. He's saying, how can I multicast to Instagram? So with Instagram, unfortunately, right now, their policy is that they only want you to go live if you're talking about Instagram Live from your phone app, right? Like they don't really allow any third-party applications to multi-stream. And there are some hacks and some workarounds. One of them is called Yellow Duck. I believe that platform is integrated with Restream, so you could use Restream plus Yellow Duck and then stream it to Instagram. Just remember, it's going to be through customer TMP, so it's going to be a one-way street. The comments are not going to be coming back, so it's just to push your content out there. But based on our conversation with Stephanie here, there are a lot of ways how you could utilize Instagram without necessarily doing Instagram Live. You can repurpose your content into stories. You can repurpose them into posts. You can repurpose them into IGTV, which basically allows you to download your whole live stream and put it on IGTV as a stream there. And then you can come back and interact with people and respond to their comments. So there are a lot of ways how you can leverage Instagram without necessarily multi-streaming to it. Right now, unfortunately, Instagram side of things doesn't really allow that, but hopefully if that ever changes, trust us, we will be the first ones to support that and allow you to do that. All right. So I guess last question from Tracy. Since Restream works best on laptops, how can we stream using our phones? Definitely your cell phone is one of those things that it's a great starting point for you to stream, right? Like for Instagram Live or Facebook Live. But if you want to elevate and like level up the quality of your stream, you will be thinking about laptops because it's just this processing power is better. Its internet connection is going to be better, especially if you're wired. And then you have all this opportunity to grow, to add on, good microphone, good DSLR camera, and things like that. So with Restream, you can actually stream from your phone. It's just the experience is not going to be ideal because your internet is probably going to be a little flaky and the quality is going to be your phone stream quality. That being said, there are a lot of ways how you could use your phone as a camera. I was recently exploring this thing that Elgato came up with, I guess Epocam or something, where you can turn your phone into a web camera. Have you heard about this, Stephanie?
I haven't heard about that one. I've been using like a NDX, I believe, on my phone.
Yeah.
Tell me more about the Elgato one.
Yeah, so you basically it's an app and you just download the app and then you turn your cell phone into your camera. So you basically like mount it on top of your computer. So that's for people who want an external camera and not just your laptop camera, but they don't want to buy like a web camera or DSLR, and people who think about their phone as the best camera that's already in their pocket, right? So in that case, you're not necessarily streaming from your phone, but you're using your phone camera as your web camera. So that's what they came up with, and I believe we are planning to do some kind of a collaboration with them as well in December. So keep your eye on that. Please stay tuned. We'll show you how that works. So, not necessarily mobile phone streaming, but using mobile phone as your camera, as a workaround. But yeah, definitely you can stream. You can even use Restream from your mobile. It's just your experience is going to be much better if you're on a laptop because it's just more powerful and it connects better with essential things such as internet and other gear, microphones, cameras, and things like that. So I hope that helps. Yeah, I guess it's time for us to wrap up. Thank you so very much, Stephanie, for joining us today. It was such a great conversation. So many great insights. We will repurpose the living out of it. And I guess to wrap this up, this is the reveal party. So right after this show, we are actually introducing Stephanie as our new guest host on Restream Channels. So Stephanie is starting her show called Digital Confetti. And Stephanie, would you like to introduce a little bit about what the show is going to be about and what you're going to be focusing on?
Oh my goodness, yes. Digital Confetti is all about teaching you share-worthy strategies to take your live streams and sprinkle it across the internet. Because here's the thing, is that when you're able to take your content and make it into like funfetti, people are going to trickle back to your show. So if you've always been interested in learning how to grow your audience, increase viewership, build out your SEO, then that is the show for you. Because I'm teaching you everything that we do on the agency side. So be there today. Take your notebooks, take screenshots, all of this stuff, because I'm teaching you every time we go live a new way to repurpose your content to keep your brand top of mind and tip of tongue.
That's amazing. And yeah, that's very exciting. You can catch that show in just 2 hours here on Restream channels. And it is going to be a regular one. We're going to do it every other Friday, I believe, right? It's a bi-monthly thing. So there are multiple episodes coming up and, before holidays, after holidays. So be sure to tune in. Be sure to keep an eye on your email because we are sending those shows that you can watch during the week every Monday for you. So yeah, and join us for Digital Confetti to give Stephanie a warm welcome with her debut, like her first episode. Other than that, thank you so very much again. Thanks for all your great questions. Super amazing people today in the chat. Great conversation, great comments. I hope you learned a little bit about social media, and I hope you also had a good time and enjoyed. We definitely had a great time talking with everybody. And Stephanie, you are so lovely. You are such a happy, bubbly person. I absolutely love that.
I love when I get to geek out with you. It's just like Anya sent me a whole list of questions, everyone, and I was like, we'll see how far we go.
We went pretty far. We almost covered everything that we planned to, and we answered a ton others from the chat. So that was amazing. All right, I'm toggling you for right now. So we do our little wrap up and closing, and bye everybody. Thanks again for watching. So this is our show for today. Next quick announcement, of course. After this, we are going to have Digital Confetti with Stephanie. Next Friday, I'm going to be off for Thanksgiving, but Friday lives are still going to happen. My wonderful coworker Victor is going to take over. He's going to sub for me, and he is going to talk about selling on LinkedIn and like how to build your sales through LinkedIn Live. So this is going to be very exciting. Please make sure you join the show, give him a warm welcome, and other than that, you guys have a wonderful weekend. Have a great rest of your Friday. It's great to see you. Bye, y'all. See you soon.